recently I had the opportunity to attend Hamvention 2023. This was held in Xenia, Ohio, and while I was there, I was able to witness firsthand the Icom America booth. This is an absolutely amazing place to visit as a Icom owner myself, to be able to go there and see the latest and greatest products from Icom on show. They had the IC905, they had the ID50, which is the new HT from Icom, and they also had the other flagship radios, of course, too. Now, when I was looking around the booth, it kind of made me think about my Icom story, my journey since I started in amateur radio some almost 20 years ago. I'm surprised actually how quick it's gone, and how many Icom radios I've actually owned over that period of time. And I remember my first Icom radio actually being an HT. It was the IC-T90A. That radio was a general coverage receiver, I think, and it did 6 meters, 2 meters, and 70 centimeters transmit. An absolutely fantastic HT. Lots of club members that I was a part of had that radio, and they're actually really hard to get now. I think everyone just holds on to them because they're so good. So that was sort of my first Icom, and it just led from there. I ended up having an IC706 Mark II-G, another very, very popular radio, Shack in the Box radio. Wish I never sold mine. I also got an IC7000. I ended up upgrading that 706 to the 7000, the color screen version of that radio. I remember you can actually used to be able to watch analog television before they switched it off on that particular radio. I think it even had a display out too, so you could display it on your screen as well. And this is going back a number of years too, before the more modern radios that already have that. Then that sort of upgraded a little bit too. I got some other various Icom mobile radios. I had the 207H, and then it's upgraded now to eventually what I run here in the shack is the IC7300 and the IC9700, and those radios have been proven and tried and tested. And in fact, the IC9700 that sits in my shack here, it's currently the radio that I use to set the 1.2 gigahertz VK national record over to New Zealand, which is just amazing. That radio just made all the difference in being able to set that record. And in actual fact, over my shoulder there, you can also see the IC705. So much joy in operating the 7300 and the 9700 that I got the 705, and that actually holds the 2.4 gigahertz VK national record as well. So as you can see there, Icom has really been a part of my amateur radio, I guess, journey since I started some 19 years ago, I think it was. And a lot of people say to me, well, why amateur radio? Why do you do amateur radio? And it's kind of, it's one of those things, it's just, I'm so passionate about it. There's so many things that you can do in the hobby of amateur radio, and it's a hobby of 1,000 hobbies. You're always experimenting, you're building whatever you're doing, building transmitters, building receivers, building antennas, playing with digital modes, experimenting with television, doing all sorts of things that you would not normally be able to do, and you're constantly learning, and you're constantly teaching other people too, which is just an absolute joy. And I guess that passion, it's infectious, because I noticed when you're actually at Hamvention, the amount of people that are there with you that are just so excited about being there. They're so excited about radio. They've all got their HTs on their backpack or on their shoulder, and it's an absolutely amazing experience. And if you haven't experienced it before, then I definitely recommend it. And when I reflect a little bit about what's next in my amateur radio adventure, it's one of those things where it kind of just evolves. You get interested in one particular section, you focus yourself on that, and then you might move on to something else different, and then you may even revisit the things that you did years and years ago. One of the things that I'm currently doing is I'm revisiting APRS, and I don't know where it come from. I started doing APRS and then I stopped for a little while, and now I'm back to doing that again. Also want to do a little bit of satellites as well. I love repeaters. I love working on repeaters, building repeaters, and those sort of things as well. But also to the microwave aspect for me, experimenting with the higher gigahertz bands is something that I really enjoy doing. And I think that that's what's going to be next, is starting to progressively work my way up the bands. I'm currently on 3.4 gigahertz, and I want to be able to work my way up to 10 gigahertz eventually, and maybe even 10 gigahertz Earth Moon Earth EME, which is pretty much the ultimate challenge that you have in amateur radio, is bouncing a signal off of the moon and receiving it again on the other side of the world. So I hope you enjoyed my amateur radio story. I hope you enjoyed my Icom story as well. And I'm sure that many of you out there have similar experiences and stories as well. My name's Hayden. My amateur radio call sign is VK7HH here in Australia. I also hold the American call sign KD9SSB. And I have a ham radio YouTube channel called Ham Radio DX, where there is a lot of videos related to inspiring, educating, and promoting amateur radio, as well as some handy tips and hints on how to use your Icom radio as well. 73, and enjoy amateur radio.